don't normally start these videos off with straight gameplay clips, but I feel the need here to just sell you on this class because wow, is this class a lot better than I thought it was at first glance. This class has potential to be the ultimate support healer, being able to spam buffs even faster than Signifer, while keeping a constant healing output the entire time, and can even output some okay damage if you build for that, though that isn't really my focus here in this video, but the idea is there at the very least. In short, it is very good, thanks to a combination of really broken abilities that all come together to just make it one of the absolute most crazy art spammers and buff spammers in the game. In this video, I'd like to show you just how good, as I will be discussing the strengths of Lapidarist and showing you how I believe to use it most effectively, after only one day anyway. As always, if you enjoy these guides and want to support me and see more of my guides in the future, including the new challenge mode content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it really helps me out so much and I'll love you forever. Let's get into it. So, as you might expect, I will be using the class on Mio because she is the default S rank for the class. I don't know if she would be the best option. Technically, Uni would have a bit more healing power. Tayam would have some more dexterity for the type of setup I'm running. But as base stats between the characters don't really differ anything too significantly, it really doesn't matter too much who you decide to use it on, but Mio has her nice new outfit, so I think this is going to be the optimal choice in this case. For the skills of this class, we start out with Star Treatment. On critical hit, this will heal nearby allies to a max of 70% of healing power. This is just as strong as you probably think it is. With enough critical hit rate, you can absolutely take advantage of this on basically every hit that you do, which I'm going to be doing in this video. So I'm basically have a setup that allows me to hit 100% critical hit rate, so I heal on every single hit I do, and considering the fact that some of your attacks are multi-hits, this becomes very strong very quickly. You can pretty much get your party up to full health pretty much instantly, like in no matter any situation. There's a very strong ability with this class. I like it a lot. Beaming Edge will boost all allies' critical hit rate by 20% and critical hit damage by 50 percentage points. Now, it goes without saying this is an amazing ability. It doesn't stack, but just having this ability in your party as a master skill or otherwise is pretty much required at this point. The 20% critical hit rate boost is just a phenomenal boost to basically all critical hits. And the critical hit damage is also amazing because it's an infinite multiplier to basically all types of damage. Originally, since this was a master skill, I didn't think it really mattered too much for the strength of this class in particular, since you could just stick it on another class. But since there's so many good master skills at this point, and being able to free up master skill slots by having good master skills as the actual class skills, means that this is actually pretty beneficial to have on this class in general as well. It's always nice not having to use a master skill slot on a support ability just because the class itself already comes with that ability, so I think that's a pretty good benefit of having this class in general. This is an absolutely fantastic skill, should be basically used at all times on any team though, just one of the most powerful skills in the entire game. Critical hit damage is absurd, the critical hit rate boost is awesome, great skill. Fascinator will boost damage dealt when in range of a field effect by 70%. This is a pretty nice ability. This only really affects the class itself and can help you do a little bit of damage with some nice damage setup if you decide to run the class that way, which is a possibility. I'm personally running more supportive, so this skill doesn't really do that much, but it's a nice skill to have if you want to run in this class in a slightly different way that focuses more on pure damage output. I will explain a little bit about how to do that as I go through my abilities and just show you how you can change things up to focus a bit more on damage if you'd rather do that than be supportive. Ring a la Mode is the final skill that this class has. This will increase the maximum number of fields that can be set from 3 to 4. This is another party-wide ability and allows you to have 4 field effects out at once, which is actually extremely nice, especially for the setup I am running, because that gives you even more effects that you can have on your party, because, you know, that fields are independent of buff effects and they can stack, so this is actually a really nice ability to have. And this once again frees up a master skill slot, because there's another thing you could put on another party member instead. So just being able to kind of consolidate both of these really nice support abilities on one class is awesome, especially because this class really wants to use certain master skills to get the most benefit out of it, so you don't really want to be wasting master skill slots with this class. And this is probably another skill you're probably going to want on the party at all times, especially if you're trying to take big advantage of certain strong field effects like Art Recharge. As far as my master skills, these might seem a little bit crazy, but trust me, it works out extremely well. Frenzied Combo on critical hit will recharge arts used by 30%. Now, I get this boosted even further with other art recharge effects to allow myself to basically recharge my 2-hit arts instantly, which is very broken, as you might imagine, and I like taking advantage of that as much as I can. I for weak points combos along with this to give myself over 100% critical hit rate with my current setup. It has been confirmed that I for weak points multiplies whatever your actual critical hit rate you see on the menu is. So this is super impactful here to get over 100% critical hit rate to basically ensure every hit that actually connects and isn't blocked is always going to be a critical hit, which is super amazing. I like this skill a lot just for that reason alone. It allows you to take huge advantage of the art recharge effect because every single hit is always going to be recharging your arts even further, and you will get a ton of benefit out of it. For my final skill, I'm running All About Support. This is just here, as you would expect, to allow myself to charge up the talent gauge a little bit faster by setting more field effects, because that's one of the ways to do it as a healer. And it also allows you to have more field effects that you can set. It's really beneficial and has good synergy with Ring a la Mode. I think this is a really important ability to have on the class as well. You definitely want the other party-wide support effects on your other healers because you don't want to waste master skill slots with this class, because all three of these skills are super impactful in my opinion, and definitely some that you should consider running if you want to have the most effectiveness here. You could even run a damage ability in this last slot if you really just want to take as much advantage of damage with this class and don't want to focus on support. That is also an option, and then you can replace some of your skills with different options as well if you do that. For arts, this class has Blessed Edge. This will heal nearby allies when art hits up to a maximum of 100% healing power. This art is insanely good. It is extremely fast. It hits twice, which is super impactful with the crit recharge. And you can just spam it over and over because of that. It's super nice to have. The fact that it's also a healing art on top of that means your party gets healed very easily with this ability on. And the time recharge is basically irrelevant if you have my setup at least. Pretty much have this art at all times. It's just super useful. Rigid Slicer is also a 2-hit art, and because of that, it's also very useful. It's not really that great outside of that, but being able to instantly recharge it automatically just makes it fantastic just because of that. The slow recharge debuff is pretty much never going to apply because all really strong enemies are basically immune to debuffs, but hey, maybe if you're lucky, you can slow enemy recharge. Besides that, though, the art is fantastic once again just for the recharge effect, because it allows you to use your Agnes Master arts even more, because those recharge based on, of course, how many arts you're canceling and all that kind of stuff. So being able to cancel these arts as much as possible is super impactful if you have good master arts with the Agnes abilities. My final skill is Prismatic Ring. This is a field effect. I'm using this, of course, to charge up my talent art faster. It also grants arts heal to anyone inside the field, so they get healed every time they use arts. Pretty good effect. It has a pretty fast recharge as well, since this is one ability you can't crit recharge since it doesn't actually hit. Golden Heart is a buff that grants fast recharge. This is actually pretty much irrelevant with my current setup here because I'm running Ring of Roses, which, if you didn't know, if you have more than 4 field effects at a time, it will automatically cancel the first one used and apply that as a buff to the entire party, and that's already going to give you the fast recharge buff. So you don't really need Golden Heart at all, but it is nice to have if you don't plan on running Ring of Roses, but then if you don't run Ring of Roses, you can't get the full crit recharge with my current setup. So you pretty much always are going to run Ring of Roses with this setup, making Golden Heart pretty much worthless. Vivid Carve could be good on specific builds over like Rigid Slicer. Unfortunately, Vivid Carve is only a single hit, making it much less useful than Blessed Edge and Rigid Slicer as arts. But removing all buffs from an ally, or from an enemy, I mean, could be pretty useful in certain scenarios. But other than that, I wouldn't really use this. I wouldn't really worry about power multipliers or anything like that with the healer class with my setup, because you're just not going to get much damage out of the class in general if you're running it more supportive. If you are running it more damage-oriented, you could consider this because of the really high power multiplier, 440% compared to Rigid Multiplier's 180%. That can be pretty impactful, but with Crit Recharge, Rigid Slicer is probably still going to give you more damage since you could easily use it 3 or 4 or 5 times before you even have a chance to use this card again, which is just the way it works. So let's move on to Master Arts now. I'm running the Oriole Resonant Flag combo. This is extremely good with this setup. You can pretty much cancel Blessed Edge so fast. It's such an incredibly fast art that you're able to use Oriole over and over again, faster than even Signifer can. Faster than pretty much any Agnes class that has access to this can, too. Meaning that you can spam buffs faster than any other class in the entire game. And of course, Resonant Flag is also a master art, so you can pass every buff that you get to all of your party members as you are spamming arts as fast as you possibly can, because they keep getting crit recharged. It is absolutely insane. It gets absurd very quickly, and it also gets enabled by Ring of Roses. So with the art recharge buff that you get from canceling over more than 4 field effects, and if you have 2 Ring of Roses fields set at once that you are standing in, you will have enough art recharge to instantly crit recharge your 2 damage arts if they both hit and they both crit, which they should with my setup. Even if you are running a damage setup that replaces Oriole and Resonant Flag with some more damaging arts, you're pretty much going to want Ring of Roses no matter what, because you pretty much need the field effect here to be able to crit recharge everything and cancel everything, but pretty much infinitely, as long as you aren't missing attacks, of course. So this is definitely a pretty much required ability. Very good master art to have here. I definitely 100% recommend it. For my talent art, I'm running Glittering Melody. This is just to freeze all the buffs that I apply to everyone, as you might imagine. The actual talent art of the class is Pride of Place. This will grant a Blaze and a Regenerate effect as a field of effect range. It's alright. I think it's an okay ability, but Glittering Melody is just so absurdly broken, and it's worked so well with the combination I'm using, I feel like it's just going to be better most of the time. I will try to show up Pride of Place a couple times, though, if I can. It's an alright Master Art, or Talent Art, I mean, but Glittering Melody is probably going to be the superior option in this situation, just because of how many buffs you can stack and how you can freeze all of them at once, which is super, super nice to have. For my gem setup, it's about what you would expect. I am running the Refined Blessing to increase duration of buff effects issued by 50%, and Swelling Blessing to boost power buff effects issued by 50%. Since I'm focusing a ton on using buffs as quickly as possible, this is pretty much required to boost the power and effectiveness of those buffs as much as I can. Now, duration matters less when you have Glittering Melody, but this also boosts the duration of Glittering Melody's stasis effect, so technically it's still really impactful just because of that alone to make sure that the Glittering Melody stasis effect applies to all the buffs as long as possible. Life-Saving Expertise is here to increase speed that I can revive allies when they die. As a healer, I still do have this. If you want to run a more offensive setup, you could definitely consider Cancel Boost and Crit Damage Up, since you have tons of crit rate. And so if you are focusing more on an offensive setup, those are absolutely a fantastic options to run. You'd probably want your third ability in that case to be Aggro Down, just to make sure you're not gaining aggro too easily. So if you're running a more offensive set and want to have an offensive healer type class, that is the solution there, I would assume. For my accessories, I'm running Devotional Necklace. This will recover all arts upon reviving an ally. This can be nice if you find yourself in a bad situation, you're unable to recharge your arts effectively, or maybe you've died yourself somehow and got revived and have no arts cooldowns. This allows you to just quickly get all your arts back upon reviving an ally if they're in that type of situation. So I like this ability a lot because of that. It's very nice. Thermo Headgear is here to get me above 50% crit rate, so I for weak points can get me up to over 100% crit rate. Pretty much a necessary ability to make sure I get all of the crit recharge on every art that I deal. So very, very, very good ability to have. Even on offensive setups, you definitely want to run this as well. Now, you can run really good abilities that you can get from crafting with the new hero, but I'm going to assume that you're not lucky enough to have that in this build, so that's why I'm using Thermo Headgear instead. My final slot is just Vigorous Anklets. I don't really know what else to put here at the moment in time, so this increases your tankiness a bit by reducing damage by 25% when performing arts. And as you've seen, you perform arts a lot with this class. Now, if you want to be more offensive, you probably replace the Devotional Necklace and Vigorous Anklets with some damage abilities, maybe Beast Damage Up, maybe some ability to go through Ether Defense of enemies with the Black Brooch. So there's a lot of options there. You probably just want to play it by ear and just see what would increase your damage the most. But even then, I don't really think the damage of this class is super impressive. You'll probably still get more luck just from running it more supportive and using other attackers to deal with most of the damage for you. But it is an option if you really want to do that. So I think that is going to cover it for the setup. Let's take a look at how to use this class practically and have some fun spamming some arts. So if this class has any kind of weakness, it would be the very, very start of the fight. You kind of have to set up the art recharge to make sure you can actually cancel everything properly. So to do that, I'm going to try to get Ring of Roses out as fast as I can and try to get those field effects applied. As you can see right there, if I double crit, I don't get quite the full recharge effect yet. I need both the fast recharge buff, either taken from Oriole or from Ring of Roses expiring or being overwritten to give that to me. And then I can start the art spam. So as you can see here, I've kind of got the field effects I need now. I've kind of got the arts I need, so I should be able to actually start spamming pretty reasonably as long as I don't miss attacks. So I'm going to set my arts one more time, make sure that I pass buffs. And unfortunately, I do miss one hit of that Blessed Edge there, but not really a huge deal. So you can see right here, I'm not really set up to do a ton of damage, but you can at least do some amount of damage just based on sheer quantity of arts being used. And if you do set yourself up to as much damage as possible, you can probably actually hit some pretty alright numbers, but I still think you're better off just running any offensive class if that's your major end goal here. So, like I said, with just 2 Ring of Roses of field effects and the art recharge up buff, you can infinitely cancel as long as both of your attacks crit. But if one is not active, then you will not be able to do that. So make sure you're reapplying Ring of Roses every few arts just to make sure that you have enough art recharge, fast recharge field effects there. That is the one major piece of advice I would offer to you for this type of build. But other than that, it's fairly simple. You can easily just stack basically every buff in the entire game even faster than Signifer can. Now, unlike Signifer, you can't have a setup to where your only attack art is Power Charge, meaning that you can always pass that since Power Charge is a usage-based one. So that is one weakness this class does have compared to Signifer. But even still, this class just has so many benefits, and you can always just run a different Signifer for like passing power charge and chain attacks and stuff like that, or just having a power charge passer in general. So you're not necessarily beholden to anything like that. And since this class just has such absurd healing, you don't really need any other healers to focus on pure healing. They can focus more on even more support if you decide to have that. You definitely at least still want more than one healer, since healers are the only people that can revive, and you never know what might happen. So that's just kind of a general overview about how to do the fight. That was level 105 Dreadworm on hard mode. I'm going to also show off part of the fight against level 150 Dreadworm here, also on hard mode, just because I was too lazy to go fight other enemies because I wanted to get this guy out as fast as possible. Sorry, I'm a little bit lazy. But even still, you can kind of see. Same thing. I'm just spamming Blessed Edge as much as I can. This recharges Oriole really quickly. Every time Oriole's used as part of the Master Art, it applies a buff. This also skips the Oriole animation, which is usually pretty long, allowing you to just spam buffs even faster. It gets absurd very, very quickly, and I love it. So, Resonant Flag every few Oriole uses also allows you to pass all those buffs, make sure all of your allies have all the buffs as well. Glittering Melody, every time you use it, it's going to make sure you stasis those buffs. So that's important to keep in mind as well. And yeah, really, my team's just handling the damage. Noah and Uni are pretty good at dealing damage here, which is very nice. So they're just kind of handling that while I'm just here, just keeping everyone healthy, just spamming all the buffs possible so they do more damage, and making sure we're basically invincible because of these buffs as well, so the enemy can't really hurt us at all. This is a very fun setup. I haven't had as much fun playing this in a while. I think, I'm glad Crit Recharge is back, honestly. Crit Recharge being back makes me happy, even if it does require a bit more of a specific setup this time around than just, like, 100% recharge just on any art. But this is still a really, really good setup. I was a little worried this class wasn't going to be as good as I thought it was, or as good as it is right now, because I wasn't really thinking about the applications of the Crit Recharge ability. But being able to have that really changes the effectiveness of this class to be something absolutely incredible. So, yeah, this class might actually be... I think it would be a top 5 as of right now, just based on a lot of this. It's probably better than Signifer, honestly, as much as it pains me to say. So, we'll kind of see what my thoughts are. I think a lot of the tier placements have changed based on new knowledge and everything like that. Soul Hacker's probably the best now, but this is definitely a strong contender for, like, top 3. And I'll have to think a little bit more and examine a little bit more with everything before I make any kind of new tier list or anything. But this class is extremely strong. I hope you can see this from watching this guide. And it can get absolutely absurd. And if you want to run some kind of damage setup, you absolutely can. I'm sure you can hit some pretty good damage numbers as well, although I still don't know if it'll compare to most attacker classes. But running a more damage-oriented setup with this kind of crit recharge would still be pretty interesting, so I'd be interested in seeing it. Although I think a lot of classes have gotten even better with the recent update, thanks to that one ability that increases all parties' critical hit rate and damage by 50% and 20% respectively, although that was reversed, but you know what I mean. That skill's great. It helps a lot of classes out a ton, so I'm really, really big fan of that. Really like the new class. I think it's a lot of fun. I hope you guys learned something from watching this video. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, and look forward to my guides on challenge mode. I'll be releasing something with the new roguelike mode, showing you how to approach it and beat it. So look forward to that in the next few days. I'll also probably take a look at the crafting and see what we can do with that. See if there's a guide I can make with that, or if it's just truly RNG. But I'll probably at least make a video about the mechanics of the crafting, so look forward to that as well. Well, all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate all the support as usual. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully I'll see you back here soon.